We did it, boys. I visited 8 different countries in 2022, and I didn't tell you guys how much all this stuff costs, but that's going to change today. I'm at my favorite place, the airport, and we're going on a little flight, but I will tell you how much all of this stuff costs when I get there. Let's get on the way. Jaden, hit my drop.
No, Tony versus the world!
Alright gang, finally made it. Last night was a big giant rainstorm, flooding everywhere, so I did make the video, but I'm making it right now, so let's get right to it. I got a bunch of notes about everything I'm going to tell you today, all the prices on my phone, everything on my computer, so I'm going to be looking down and telling you exactly how much all of this stuff costs, so let's get right into it. Okay, so let's talk about Panama. Panama, let's start right off with it. The flight was actually free for me. I used my frequent flyer miles to get a free flight from San Francisco all the way to Panama, and thank goodness, because it was actually expensive. And believe it or not, I actually got a real nice Airbnb because I had a free flight. My Airbnb, which I made a video about, it was $718.94. And like I said, the only reason why I got that was because my flight was free. And it was a really nice one, by the way. You can watch the video here about that particular Airbnb. Now, let me give you a couple things about Panama if you decide to go. The food was actually, it was okay, but then again, I'm gonna put a little star asterisk by this one. I didn't really have a bunch of people showing me where I need to go and, you know, have the best authentic experience. So, I'm pretty sure it's great there, but I just didn't get to see a whole bunch of places that I really needed to go. INDRIVER. Believe it or not, there's an app on your phone that you can download that's called INDRIVER. INDRIVER is just like Uber, but you tell the driver how much you want to pay for that particular ride, and the drivers decide if they want to accept it or not. I thought that was pretty cool. I used it a couple of times, but mostly I used Uber. Uber is available in Panama, and the prices are pretty cheap. Usually they might charge $3, $5, something like that. I took an Uber from downtown Panama City, where my Airbnb was, all the way to the Panama Canal, and I think it cost me about $8 and $8 or $9, something like that. So don't be afraid to use Uber if you don't want to use INDRIVER. They also have dollar buses there where, yes, just like it sounds, you can pay $1, get on the bus. It's like an old school school bus, and it will take you all the way around the city. I did that once or twice, obviously not on camera, and I thought that was pretty cool, but it was cramped in there because everybody was doing it. So, but anyway, that's just an option if you want to get around the city cheaply. The last thing that I thought was really crazy there is they don't have a mail system. They don't have a UPS or USPS like we do here in America. And they don't really have addresses like we have here in America too. When you want to send something to somebody, you're really gonna have to talk to them because there is no addresses like you would naturally think to send a package to or something like that. I just thought that was crazy. So that's a few points on Panama. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so let's talk about Istanbul. Istanbul, I have been there before, so we're gonna keep this one really short. The food, let me just start off with that. The food was amazing. Every time I go to Istanbul, I have something different. Like, I'm not gonna say a traditional dish, but they served me something different that I just thought was insane. I mean, there was like spinach wraps and lettuce rolls and all types of stuff, which was, if you go to Istanbul, just go any place. Literally just go any place in the city. Where I went was near the Blue Mosque, and you can just find any place that serves amazing dishes. They have lamb, any types of beef, chicken, meat, fish, vegetable platters, whatever you want. Amazing food there. So like I said, I was around the Blue Mosque, and let me tell you one thing about this. I got a hammam, and I made a video about that too. If you don't know what a hammam is, basically you go into this, I'm not gonna say a tunnel or anything like that, but usually they have them like underground. I don't know why. There's some of the bathhouses that are above ground, but I found out the authentic ones are submerged somewhere. But anyway, long story short, they wash you up, give you a massage, you get in a steam bath. Oh my God, amazing experience. If you have a chance to go do it, please get a hammam. I will recommend a place for you to do it. The link's gonna be in the description below. Amazing. One of the things that I noticed here in Istanbul is it's perfectly acceptable to drive in the middle of the road. Everybody does it. I mean, I don't know why, but the lines don't matter. And I thought that was pretty weird. Actually, you know what? Let me say this. I've been around the world, and it's only weird if you do that in the US. Other places in the world, I'm not gonna say they don't necessarily care, but it's okay if you drive between cars or on the lines in the painted in the road. You know, it's just differences about different places in the world. I thought that was pretty cool. Everybody was really accommodating. 99.9% of people spoke English and they were willing to talk to you. I had people hold my camera for me. I had people point me in the right direction of places that I wanted to go. Everybody was really, really nice. And I think that goes towards their culture. One of the things I noticed about their culture was there are so many flags, turkey flags around Istanbul. I mean, you can't go 100 yards without seeing a big giant turkey flag in Istanbul. They are super proud of their country and where they're from, and reasonably so. So I get it. That was my little thing on Istanbul. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so let's talk about Ghana. Ghana, there are a bunch of things that I have to tell you guys about Ghana. Number one is the flight. My flight was on Turkish Airlines. It cost me $1,279.65 to go to Ghana. I also got an Airbnb, which I made a video about. I'm gonna link it up here for you guys because it was really, really nice. I really liked it. And it was in a great neighborhood too. My Airbnb was $787.41 for a little over a week in a great neighborhood in Ghana. And believe it or not, that sounds like an American price, but the prices are going up everywhere. I mean, I don't know what to say, especially in a great neighborhood where everything was, I'm not gonna say central, but this is a really peaceful, a real nice upscale neighborhood. So don't be afraid to pay something like that, you know, if you want to go to Ghana, be in a nice place, be in a nice area. So a couple things about Ghana, right? Uber is there. Definitely use Uber, but they also have a company called Bolt. Bolt is a little bit cheaper than Uber, but they're a little bit sketchy. And the reason why I say that is because like every time I used it, I had to cancel my ride like 3 or 4 times because certain drivers are in certain areas. I guess they live around that area and they don't want to go across town. So if I was having an address that go clear across town, the driver would actually call me on the phone and say, hey, look, where are you going? Even though I put the address in the app, he'd say, hey, where are you going? If I tell him the address and it was far out of the district that he wanted to go, he would just cancel the ride. And that would happen to me like 3-4 times before I would actually get somebody that would actually accept and actually want to work. And I thought that was pretty weird. I mean, they're getting paid, but I guess they didn't feel like driving. Whatever the case is, I had to cancel them a lot and actually switch over to Uber a bunch of times because I couldn't get people to actually get a ride. Now, let's talk about the money. The money is heavily in your favor if you bring American dollars. I don't even need to tell you guys this, but if you have like 100 CDs, which is like about $10, you are like the king of the world. So I went there and I had about $50, 50 American dollars, which would be like 500 CDs, which they call it in Ghana. I mean, when I would pull that out, when I was at the bar trying to buy a drink or something like that, everybody would be looking like, who is this guy? And I thought that was pretty weird. I was at a club and I made a little video about this, and I didn't really tell you guys what I did, but I'm gonna tell you now. I was at a club and I was just having fun. I bought drinks for about, I don't know, maybe about 17, 20 people, something like that. And the whole entire bill came to about $70. So that can kind of tell you about how, you know, how much in favor you are if you take American dollars to Ghana. So yes, definitely go there. Some of the people there, they dress differently than we do in America, and I stuck out like a sore thumb, which I don't know, that happens to me all the time, so I don't really care. But the problem is, what I have is when they treat you like you're a foreigner. I mean, you know, when you go into a place and they want to charge you triple a price for something because they think you don't know how how to haggle or do stuff like that. It is what it is. It happens all over the world, so I wasn't too offended by it. But after a while, I'm just like, I really don't want to go through this, man. Like, just treat me like a regular. I'm still gonna pay you. I'm still gonna, you know, pay for my services and everything like that. One thing I wrote down on my little script here: dating as a foreigner. Which was super, super weird. I didn't necessarily go out on a date, but I did talk to a bunch of young ladies, and geez, they love people that aren't from Ghana, which was super, super weird. I guess I just came in with a new, different type of flavor, and they like that other than what the guys were giving there. So, hey, look, if you go to Ghana as a foreigner, as a foreign guy, or even as a foreign girl, they're going to pick up on you immediately, and they're going to be attracted to you. So don't be afraid to go. They treat you like, you know, family. There was no disrespect there. Nobody looked at me funny or anything. Matter of fact, everybody treated me like family, except for when it was time to buy something or they was trying to charge me triple the price. So, okay, let's talk about the food. The food, great, awesome. Every time I went to a place, it didn't even matter if it was a place on a corner or a restaurant. Food, excellent. I went to a place called the Sandbox, and the food was actually, I'm gonna say subpar, but that was just one place. Everywhere else that I ate, they had ribs, fish, chicken, all types of meat that you could want, everything amazing. Don't be afraid to order food in Ghana. Man, the last thing I want to tell you before we move on, the nightlife. Believe it or not, Ghana has a crazy nightlife. You would not believe it. I put this at the end of a couple of my videos. Some of you guys saw it, some of you guys didn't, but they party. They go out and they go hard, believe it or not. And some of the parties lasted until like 1, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And when the club stopped, the party went outside. It was raining one night and people just didn't stop. I guess there was somebody out there with big giant speakers and they were still going. It was great. I will never forget, and I probably will be going back to go do that again. Ghana was an amazing time. If you haven't been, put that on your list. Okay, let's talk about Riyadh. Riyadh in Saudi Arabia blew my mind. I never, ever thought in my life of going to Saudi Arabia, or that would be a great place to go or anything like that. Never once crossed my mind, but I went there anyway. So let's start with the flight price. The flight getting to Riyadh was $553.33, which really, believe it or not, it really wasn't that bad, considering the amount of miles that I went from Ghana to Saudi Arabia. Now, to get in, I needed a visa, and that visa cost me 538 or not dollars, but Saudi Riyals, 539 Saudi Riyals, which translates to about $143.63 United States dollars. So, you know, it seems like it kind of was expensive, but you know, I'm doing it for the experience at this point. It was amazing. It was great. You guys also saw the video that I made about the Airbnb situation. Now, the situation was the guy actually didn't really respond because he thought that I was actually booking the Airbnb for one particular day when I was actually booking it for another. He got his days mixed up, and I don't know. We just got our communication crossed, and it was a big hassle. So I got stuck out there and I had to go get another Airbnb that I didn't plan on getting. I think that was like about $200 or something like that for about 4 or 5 days. So it really wasn't terrible, but the Airbnb was not the one that I planned on getting. Oh, so speaking about when you get to the airport, there are a bunch, and I mean a huge load of taxi drivers there. And just like in other countries, they are begging for your attention. They are screaming for you. They're pulling on you, touching you. Hey, taxi over here, taxi over there. Get Uber. Take my advice. Get Uber if you go to Saudi Arabia, specifically Riyadh. Get Uber, or there is another app called CAREEM, CARREEM. And I don't know why they called it CAREEM, but I started to look it up on Google. CAREEM is actually a subsidiary of Uber. They're actually the same company. They do the same thing. It's the same thing. You just got to link your bank account to it the same way you do it as Uber. So you can take an Uber or CAREEM from the airport instead of getting a taxi, which is probably going to cost you double the price. Make sure you get Uber. Uber is almost everywhere. I mean, I should have invested in Uber when it first came out. I could have been a millionaire by now. Driving was the same thing in Riyadh. People, I mean, they just do whatever they want to do. And again, like I said before, it only seems weird when you come from the US. If you come from any other countries out there in the world, I mean, it's just a thing. I mean, people are not afraid to go in between cars or through the lines or anything like that. It was just, it was a weird experience at first, but now I'm kind of getting used to it. Like, it just is what it is there. People speak English there. A lot of people speak English, but don't get too excited. There's a lot of people that don't. You guys saw it on one of my videos when I was leaving Riyadh and going to the Maldives. I actually had a Uber driver who didn't speak any English at all. He was still cool, he was still friendly, he understood like thanks and stuff like that, a couple of words, but there are a lot of people out there that still don't speak English. They only speak Arabic. And that brings me to one of my points that I have down here. Do not be afraid to use Google Translate. I use this all over the world. Don't be afraid to use it there. People are super friendly. Well, I'm just gonna be honest. When you get out of the United States, people are really helpful, and they don't mind helping you, like trying to get what you need to do, get where you need to go, whatever. So yeah, that was a great experience in Saudi Arabia, and I can't say enough about the guys that I met there. You guys saw the video. I went in the desert and did a whole bunch of stuff, and that was from my my CAREEM driver, believe it or not. I'm gonna link that video up here too, because that was an amazing experience that you guys really need to see. Once you get out the States, it's really not the same. People are just nice. It just is what it is. Okay, so I brought up the Maldives, right? So let's talk about the Maldives. The Maldives, let's get right into it. The flight for the Maldives was free, believe it or not. Yes, my flight from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia to the Maldives was actually 100% free. Well, let me not say that. So what I did was I used my miles, my frequent flyer miles, which I preach to you guys. Fly everywhere, fly as much as you can, save your miles. Was free. It was free. So I flew on Sri Lankan Airlines, and it just so happened that Sri Lankan Airlines is a partner of American Airlines. So I can use my saved up miles that I saved on American Airlines and use them on Sri Lankan Airlines, and that's what I did. It was totally free, and I just paid the taxes. I think it was like $6 or something like that. Free 99 is always the best price. Now, as far as my Airbnb, you guys already saw the videos. I didn't want to go do the whole water bungalow thing. I had done it already, so I really wanted to go out and see the city. So I found a small boutique hotel on Airbnb, and that was $234.53. Really nice, super small. Don't get it messed up. It was nothing to write home about. It was nothing to go on a honeymoon about. It was like one bed and one room, which was the bathroom. So don't. I only did that because I was only staying a couple of days, and I really wanted to be in the city with the other people, the local people. And so a couple things about the Maldives. Super poor country outside of the resorts. Like when you go to the resorts, you really do not see the country at all. It does it no justice. The country is really nice, but I mean the people there are really living in poverty. Their whole GDP for the whole nation is based on tourism and fishing and stuff like that. So you got to think they're not really making any money there. So when you go there, spend local, like how my Uber driver said. So I made a little short video about that. That didn't get a bunch of views, but I think you guys really should watch that if you decide to go to the Maldives. He talks about how the government is actually getting 99% of your money when you go spend it on the resorts and you come to the country. There's the local dollars. It's not getting circulated. The people are like literally in poverty there. And he gives a really short speech about it, but you can kind of feel his pain and what he was talking about. I'll link that video up there up here too, so you can see exactly what he said while I was in his taxi. Oh, and that brings me to my next point. Uber is not a thing here, but the taxis are super cheap. We're talking $3, $5, that type of thing. So don't be afraid to call up a taxi or wave down a taxi, because it's really easy to get around Male, Hulu Male. That's where I was, the two big giant cities. They have a bridge that connects these two big cities, and you can get a taxi anywhere that you are in these cities, and they will take you wherever you need to go. Not a big hassle at all. Do not be afraid to go there. Like I said, if you want to stay in Male, Hulu Male, it's extremely cheap to stay in the city. This is where you need to go if you want to go to the Maldives on a budget. Stay in Male or Hulu Male. It's extremely cheap to stay there, and you can have the same experiences that I did, just everybody else does when they go to the big resorts and they go to the islands and stuff like that. I booked like travel excursions with the particular hotel that I was at, and they might have charged me like $150 to go to the resort, feed me lunch and dinner. Went to a bunch of different islands. We went on a boat, we went on jet skis, all of this stuff, and it cost me $150. There was a tour that I went around a bunch of islands, and it cost me, I think, $59. I made a video about that too. So you can really go to the Maldives on a budget. It's not hard. You just not gonna get the water bungalow experience, which is, I mean, it has its place in traveling, but I had already done that before, so I wasn't really necessarily interested in doing it again and spending out the money again. I already did that. The food is good here, especially if you like seafood. Obviously, everything's fresh caught. The shrimp, the fish, everything they had there, really excellent. There was a restaurant that I went to in Male called Salt. It's a restaurant that's on the rooftop, and you can look out into one of the bays they have there in the city of Male. Excellent place. I definitely recommend. It's called Salt. I'm going to leave the link in the description so you can find this particular restaurant if you decide to go to the Maldives. The last thing that I have for the Maldives is heavily influenced by Indian culture. They're right near Sri Lanka and and India too, believe it or not. So most of the people there are Indian descent, have the same type of religious beliefs and all that stuff. That doesn't affect anything. You know, it's just an observation that I made there. Most importantly, if you guys don't take anything from this whole video at all, if you go to the Maldives, bring your sunscreen. I got super incredibly burned, and in fact, right now, still to this day, a couple months later in 2023, I can still see my tan lines that I have from the Maldives. I'm still a little bit darker, you know, I'm getting back to my regular complexion, but please don't be like me. Don't be stupid and not bring your sunscreen. Please bring your sunscreen. All right, let's move on. Okay, so the next country that I went to was Stockholm, Sweden, and believe it or not, getting there was actually really cheap. I don't know why, but sometimes I just go on Google Flights and look for cheap flights, and I don't know, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't, sometimes I pull the trigger, you know, it just depends on what's going on right then and there. So what I did was I actually found a flight. It was $600 from San Francisco on the west coast of California, west coast of the United States, to go all the way across, halfway across the world, passing through Amsterdam to go to Stockholm. It was $606, period. And I was like, wait a minute, for that amount of miles to go from this side all the way to this side? Oh, no, I definitely got to do it. So I pulled the trigger, and I actually got it. It was on KLM Airlines. It really wasn't that bad. I had an exit row seat going to Amsterdam, and I had an exit row going from Amsterdam to Stockholm, Sweden. It was really nice. I mean, it really wasn't that bad at all, except for the really long lines in Amsterdam. That was, I don't even want to talk about that. If you go through if you've been through Amsterdam, you've probably seen it before. the customs lines and going through passport control and all that stuff. Ridiculous. But okay, that's neither here nor there. I went to Stockholm in March, and believe it or not, it was cold. I mean, obviously, you know, we here in the States, we know it's cold around that time, but usually their winter stops like maybe February or something like that. They start get their heaviest snow in January and then tails off into February and into March. So when I got there, it was still some snow on the ground, but you could tell that they hadn't had snow in maybe a week, 2 weeks or something like that. It was already to the point where it was clearing up. It was cold there, but it wasn't like freezing cold. I wore like a black bomber jacket, and it really wasn't thick or anything like that. So depending on where you go, when you go, you don't need to worry about it being super cold. One thing I learned about Stockholm is that it's actually made of 14 different islands. So there's a whole bunch of bridges all the way around the city. You can get anywhere you need to go. The taxis were cheap there. I took Uber a lot, and also I walked across a lot of these bridges and just wanted to get lost. You can definitely do that in Stockholm. It's a really nice place. Obviously, I don't need to tell you guys, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me. I saw a few, but nobody really, you know, was staring or paid attention to me at all. So it wasn't really a big deal. I didn't feel awkward there or anything like that. It was really nice there. The city is actually a big giant mix of the old and the new. I saw buildings that were hundreds and hundreds of years old, and I saw buildings that looked like they were built just yesterday. So you really get a mix of a little bit of their culture, get to see some of how Stockholm was like way back in the past, and you know how they used to live, which was really nice. I was only there for a couple days, and you know I got to see the big giant city hall and some of the churches. Excellent architecture. You know, it was just one of those things that I just had to pull the trigger on because I got it at a cheap price. Speaking of getting there for a cheap price, my hotel, I stayed at the Hilton, and which is actually where I'm at right now. I'm at a Hilton hotel. And I have a bunch of points with Hilton as well. So I paid for my room in Stockholm, Sweden with a mixture of points and money. So my points, it cost me 14,000 points to get to the price of the room. Plus it cost me 894 krona, Swedish krona, and that amounts to $85.30 American dollars. So it cost me a total of $85 to get a room for, I think it was like three, maybe 4 days in Stockholm. Can't beat it, right? So I paid $600 plus $85. You know, I was sub $700 to travel, wow, maybe 5,000 miles. Can you beat that? No. So I was like, hey, might as well do it. And hopefully I'm going to find another deal like that this year. I'm definitely going to pull the trigger. Stockholm, I definitely would go back. Live there? Probably not, but that's just not my thing. But I would definitely go back and visit more of the city if I could. All right. Okay, so let's talk about St. Maarten. St. Maarten, I have been there before, but I made a video about the reason why I wanted to go back to St. Maarten. I'm going to link that up here too so you can watch it. Super nice place. Let's talk about my flight. My flight cost me $856.99 on American Airlines. Yeah, you know, it was pretty expensive, but hey, look, I had a reason why I wanted to go there, and it was kind of important to me, so I just pulled the trigger. My Airbnb there, which was, it was okay. It wasn't that bad. It was really close to the airport, really close to the action. So, you know, it really wasn't too terrible. That cost me $192.86. So it really wasn't that bad. I can't complain. I also made a short video about it. You guys can see it in the St. Maarten videos that I made. Before I got there, I had to get an electronic screening. And that was just, it wasn't a big deal. It was just like a few clicks just to say I was healthy. I didn't have COVID. I didn't have any sickness or anything like that. And I had to show them the barcode on my phone when I got there. Really easy process, so not a big deal at all. The food there, I hate to say this is my opinion. It was just regular, you know, it wasn't nothing crazy there. I ate at a bunch of different restaurants that got recommended on Google and TripAdvisor and stuff like that. And they just didn't have anything that was super exciting. They just didn't. I mean, they had, obviously they had a bunch of seafood and some local food and stuff like that. It just really didn't strike me as amazing. I mean, just my opinion. Obviously I'd go back. Really nice place. Like I said, I've been there before. In St. Martin, there's definitely a lot of places that I didn't get to see. I realized that I saw a lot of the city, but there was a lot that I didn't get to see. I didn't get to talk to a bunch of locals like I do on all my other travels, and that's one of the things that I wanted to go back there and do, just to get people's, you know, different opinions on, you know, where they're from and how they think of America and stuff like that. I didn't get to do that. Last but not least, let's talk about Tokyo. Tokyo, I had been there before, and that was my last stop on my big giant world tour trip. I didn't actually write down how much my flight cost to Tokyo, but I believe, if I remember correctly, it was in the $500 range, something like that. I also bought a ticket from Tokyo back to San Francisco to complete my world tour revolution, which I have a whole big giant playlist I'm going to link up here so you guys can see all the videos of all the places that I made in my big giant world tour. And I believe that ticket was about another $300 or $400. Anyway, Tokyo is on my short list of places to retire to if I ever get the chance. Really nice city. All the people were super nice. I even got interviewed on Japanese TV. That interview, well, all of it didn't come out yet. Pieces of it I have seen on the internet. They send me a link for it and all of that. When the whole interview comes out, I will be putting it up on my YouTube. It was kind of weird. They asked me to taste a bunch of different foods and tell me what they thought about America and tell me what they thought about Tokyo, since I had been there a couple of times before. Really nice place. I can't say enough about it. If you have a chance to go to Tokyo, the food is amazing, the atmosphere is amazing, there are a bunch of things there to do, there's a bunch of things there to see, the culture is still there, it's still a big giant city that you probably won't never see the end of. So yeah, that's my big giant wrap up of my whole entire trip, all of my trips that I did in 2022. What you guys have been waiting for, here's the total. All right, grand total is, drum roll please, $6,208.36. So I went clear around the whole entire world. Yes, clear around the whole entire world for $6,000. I don't think that's that bad. There's some trips and some Airbnbs that I could have paid a lot less for and made this trip a lot cheaper. But mind you, this is over the course of a year. I paid $6,000 to literally travel the world. This is the reason why I do this for you guys, just to be completely transparent, so you can see, you can have the best of things, you can have the worst of things and still do it. You can even go right down the middle like I do sometimes. Sometimes I decide to splurge, sometimes I don't. This is all for my experiences. This is all so I can show you guys you can travel with basically any budget. There's a bunch of content creators that show you how to travel on a budget, and you can, you know, go to exotic places like Maldives and have experiences for $59. There's a bunch of travelers on here that, you know, just kind of do it and see what happens like I do. I just go just to have the experience, and sometimes I want to, you know, have a little bit of luxury, and sometimes I can do without it. Either way, the point is you can do it. Never say that you can't. Always be open to meet new people, go new places, go, you know, just see different things, just to get out of your comfort zone. Sometimes that's just what I like to do, and I'm going to be doing a lot more of that in 2023. I got a lot of trips planned, but I have a lot of faith that I'm going to just probably splurge and book something that, you know, I might have to go on the spur of the moment. I will be doing that. You know how this goes. I love you guys. I'm out. Peace.